Wow, Such got me. You know what he said? He said, hey, could you come over and talk to a few friends of mine? I'm like, no problem, Such. Yeah, he must have a lot of friends out there, so thanks for coming. I'm going to get right into it because we're definitely on a time crunch to make sure we get everything out. Why are you guys here? You're probably here because you're concerned about what's going on, and that's a good thing. You're probably concerned that you see things in the news every day. We are definitely not on the right track as a country. We still are the best country in the world, don't get me wrong. So it is a little bit of doom and gloom, but we're better than anywhere else. If you had to pick anywhere where you would like to go, you would definitely probably still pick the good United States of America. But we can make this country definitely better, and hopefully we will. But right now, you probably have to get a life raft. You can see what's going on. And that's what it's about, making a life raft for yourself, for your family, for your friends. Because if you're in your life raft and you can take care of yourself, it's a lot easier to reach down and help somebody else. If you don't have the ability to take care of yourself, you're not going to help anybody. So it's about building your life raft. Everyone is different. We have people in here that could probably afford to go buy a year's supply of Mountain House, and we have people that can't. So there's ways to do it. Don't want you to get overwhelmed and say, wow, I need a year's supply of food. No, you don't. What you need is 3 additional days of food in your house. And then work on a week, and then work on a month. Very, very slow steps. If you look at the big picture, you might get overwhelmed and say, man, I can't do that. Just stop and say, hey, I can do it, but it's going to be one step at a time. So don't get overwhelmed. We're going to talk about 2 things. First of all, I call it stockpiling, logistics, getting supplies, getting food put together. The other side of the coin, we won't have time to talk about is, but it's sustainability, growing your own food. It's very important because if you're a prepper, you need to stock food for a short-term emergency and a long-term emergency. But you also have to have the ability to resupply by gardening, by growing your own food, chickens, eggs, and the list goes on and on. If you look at the Great Depression in the 1930s, who did better? The people that lived in the city or the people that lived in the country? The country. It was hands down. So we need to use that mentality and say, hey, we need to be able to produce our own food. You might be in the city and say, I can't do anything. You can. I lived in Buffalo, New York when I grew up. So you can. You might put out 2 tomato plants instead of 10. But if you learn how to grow 2, when the time comes, you can grow 10 or 12 or 15. So do something. If it's a container garden, think about it and do something. Why do I stock food? I'm going to tell you 3 things. First of all, there was a story told me years ago about a guy in the Great Depression. He worked at a sawmill, and he was doing the best he could, but he wasn't making it. But one day he was working, and he said he got so hungry, he was going to pass out. And if he passed out, he'd probably lose his job because there's 20 other guys that replace him in a second. So he said, I'm going to sneak into the break room before break, and I'm going to steal some food. So right before break, he snuck in there, and he said they had a shelf, and everybody had their sack on top of that shelf. So he, real quick, was lifting them up, and he grabbed the heaviest one. He grabbed the heaviest one because he said, you know what? I could probably take a little bit of food out of that guy's thing, and he's not going to mind, or maybe he won't even notice. So he grabs a bag, and he runs outside behind the building, opens the sack up, and pulls out a hammer, and he pulls out a black walnut. That guy that he was stealing from wasn't much better off than him. So that story has always stuck because that man was just like you and me, a good moral man that probably right now wouldn't think about stealing food from your neighbor. But under his circumstances, he was willing to steal from his neighbor, probably a guy he's worked with his whole life. Somebody he knew, probably went to church, kids knew. So if the times get tough, we will all stoop to that level of stealing food. That way, we don't want to go there. So if you can set up a stockpile, you won't have to go there, Lord willing. Another story, in Iraq. We would take our trash across from our compound and burn it. The first few days we'd do that, we'd throw the trash in. All of a sudden, people would be out there to get our trash. So we'd give it to them, they'd burn our trash. Before they burned it, they'd go through it. Soldiers, MREs, we wouldn't eat everything. We were picky. So they would go through it. A few days later, there was more people. Then it came to a point where people were actually pitching tents across from us to be first in line for the trash. We always took the trash out at different times because you don't want to do the same thing in the military because you could get attacked that way. one day I wanted to go out and see what's going on, so I rode out there in the Humvee, and people actually reached up and grabbed the trash out of the bag. And that's sort of scary. You don't like anybody taking stuff out of your truck. What I witnessed was the sacks would come out, and they were plastic bags, and they would be tore open instantly because 5 or 6 people would be grabbing bags. You know what happens. They were at the point where they were hungry enough to eat our trash and fight for it. Literally, we had to fire the 50 cal over their heads because they were fighting with sticks. And that broke it up definitely when a 50 cal goes off over your head. I looked down and I saw little kids going through the trash. And it's like, those kids are the same size as my kids at the house in the States. So that story probably said, hey, I don't want to have my kids ever have to go through the trash to get food. So that's one reason I stock food. You're going to have to figure out the reason you guys are going to stock food. I don't know what it is, and it's a personal decision, and only you can decide that in your head. If you watch my channel, I talk about 2 things. There's this thing called RAW, without rule of law. That means the crap has hit the fan, things are not good in this country. Will that happen in the United States? I hope not. The chances of it, what is it, less than 1% probably, but there is a possibility for that. But I couldn't base my whole channel or my whole prepping on one little scenario with a very small percentage of happening. So I invented this one, RAW, without regular, ordinary life. And what that means is you lost your job, you got laid off, the wife got her hours cut at work, the transmission blew up and the washing machine broke all at the same time. Your brother-in-law and his family had to move in with you because he lost his job. That's RAW, without regular, ordinary life. So my stockpile of food and my prepping will do both scenarios. The terrible RAW situation, or when our life is turned upside down. If I ask how many guys have had their life turned upside down in the last 3 years, it'd be a lot of guys raising their hands and ladies. Because life is like that, especially in this economy. Our food supply is definitely fragile. You all know that. It relies on a few things. It relies on oil, which is every day going up in price. And one day the spigot could be turned off very quickly, which would then drive food up, everything up, commodities up. We also run with computers. Computers control everything. When food is harvested, it's controlled by a computer. It gets on a truck, it's gone to the plant, they bottle it or can it, and then goes on to the supermarket. So there's a lot of things that have to play. Food comes from thousands of miles away. The funny thing is, if the weatherman comes up and he says there's ice or snow in the forecast, automatically every drop of milk and bread in the store disappears. It's just, I don't know how it works, but it works that way. If the newscast guy came on and said some terrible news, the milk and bread would be gone, along with the canned foods, the tuna fish, everything else in the store would disappear. We all know that. So being prepared, hopefully you won't be that guy at Walmart pushing and shoving for that last can of corn. You'll be home safely with your family, rationally thinking, okay, what do I need to do next? So our food supply is very fragile. We all know that. I don't want to talk too much about the tragedy in Japan because it's terrible. I don't want to take advantage of that situation, but we know what happened. Those people are probably still suffering. They've lost everything they own, and hopefully help can get there to them quicker. But that situation could happen in the United States. There's no guarantee that we can't have a major earthquake in the United States. So having a plan is good. Having a stockpile is good. Yes, your whole stockpile might get destroyed, but that's where networking comes in. If you have friends or relatives that are like-minded, you can agree, hey, if something happens, come to my house. If my house is destroyed, I'm coming to your house. That's simple networking like it used to be. And that's an important part of this thing. If you meet a guy within 20 miles of your house, exchange numbers. Okay, this is the perfect opportunity to make contacts. Hopefully you guys are here and you already know you need a food plan. You need to stock something. So I'm assuming most of you are on board and you're willing to, hey, I need to stock some food. Here's some mistakes in food prepping. People store food. Variety. Make sure you have a variety. Don't say, oh, I got a great deal on pinto beans, so I bought 50 cases of pinto beans. After about 3 weeks of eating pinto beans in a situation where you have to have them, you will have open revolt in your family. Your wife and your kids, they'll be over for you. So, variety. The next thing that a lot of people make a mistake is in vitamins. Right now, hopefully we're getting fresh fruits and vegetables at the store. If we have to dig into our stockpile of food for any length of time, common sense, we're not going to have enough vitamins. So make sure you stock a multivitamin. Very important. Your body will be under tons and tons of stress, whatever the situation is, and your body will need more vitamins. Another thing is balance. Let's say we've decided we're going to have a stockpile of food, a pantry. Balance it out. 1 month, let's say, well, I just bought all wheat. Next month, I bought all oats. The third month, oh no, something's bad happening. You're not going to have a good balance. You're going to have to eat the 2 things you bought. So each month, buy a little bit of wheat, a little bit of oats, a little bit of macaroni, whatever your family normally eats, buy it in a balance every month. If you come across a great deal, yes, pick it up. But make sure you balance it out. Containers. I've made this mistake. So let's say you get a good deal on something and you buy it. You take it home, but you don't have the 5-gallon bucket, you don't have the Mylar. So you say, I'll just put it in the basement, I'll get to it in a day. A day turns into a week turns into a month. That's how life is. So if you're gonna start your stockpile, make sure you have everything to store it. Mylar, oxygen absorbers, buckets. Don't make that mistake, because things will go bad. A mouse in the basement will get into your wheat, and you'll be like, oh, I just wasted a bunch of money. Probably the biggest thing people make is they buy food and they don't use it. You need to use your food. The reason is, using your food, you're going to be able to rotate your food. You'll also realize, hey, I don't like that thing that much, so I won't buy any more of it. Or, hey, I really like that. That's awesome product. Or you'll realize, the wife will say, hey, you know what? If you gave me this seasoning or this item, I can make that dish better. And that way you can go out and buy that item. So you need to use your food. It's sort of funny we're even talking about this, because 100 years ago, people would think we're crazy. We're going to a prepper conference, because they did that. They stocked food. Everyone had a root cellar. Everyone put food back, and they used it. So make sure you use what you have so you can make better recipes. Let's talk about some food. I'm all for you going out and buying a year's supply of Mountain House, whatever it is. You can do that if you want to. I would rather you individually make your food stockpile. If you're a wealthy person, yeah, go buy it and put it back. I would rather you, though, pick and choose and buy exactly what you know you're going to use and use it. MREs. I've eaten thousands and thousands of MREs. Do I like MREs? Yes, I like it. It's the environment I eat this in. If me and you want to go get a steak, we'll go get a steak. Now, let's say, I say, yeah, let's go get the steak, but I'm going to take the MRE with me. And I start eating the MRE, and he starts eating a steak. That is not the environment I'm going to really appreciate this MRE in. I'm going to put it down and say, hey, miss, can you bring me one of those? So when you stock food, also think of the environment you're going to eat it in. Now, let's say me and him go up to the mountains for 3 days, and this is all we have, and then about 6 o'clock at night after hiking up the mountain, we break out one of these. It's going to taste real good to us. So evaluate food under the environment you'll probably eat it in. One more thing about MREs. Most MREs you buy will have a date on them, on the case. That will tell a lot of things about the MRE. Food in general is very sensitive to heat. Very. So if you buy a year's supply of food and they say, well, this is going to last 30 years, it's going to last 30 years if you have it under the controlled environment. Remember that. Because that 30-year shelf life might turn into 10 years very quickly if it's not stored right. This MRE will store at 130 months at 60 degrees. 130 months at 60 degrees. If I stored it in my root cellar, which this has been stored in there, it's going to last me a long, long time. If I put this in my shed at 90 degrees, I will get 55 months out of it. So, store your food at the best conditions you can do. That's probably the biggest thing people make mistakes. Store your food under the most ideal situation you can do. Pouches. There's a lot of food out there that comes in pouches, and typically they all have the expiration date on them. This is 2013. Most of these pouches will last about 5 to 7 years. I like these products, and Mountain House, Wise, and there's probably a million other out there. They're good. The problem with some of them are individual tastes. So I might love this product, but you might hate this product. So don't buy a huge amount of anything unless you sample it. Go get a sample. If you're thinking about buying from a company, hey, can you send me a sample, or can I buy one sample off of you? Because there's some Wise products that my wife likes, and there's some I feed to the dog. It'll be like that, because she does not like the product at all. So make sure you sample what you're buying. Another thing with these things are they're already a complete made meal. So they're already seasoned how the company wants them to be seasoned. So if you don't like the seasoning, it's hard to change it because all the ingredients are in there. The only thing you can really do with some, if it's a rice-based product, to get a different taste is to add another cup of rice, which will also make that meal go farther. So that is an option if you think they're too spicy. Pouches are great. I'm going to talk more about them when I do bug out bags this afternoon, and that's their purpose. This is not really a long-term answer to what you need. The cost of this, plus the way it's stored. It's still a great product for camping, for hiking, and for short-term emergencies like a bug out bag. Cans. There's so many companies out there right now. And most of them are good, some of them are bad, some of them are right now getting on board to make money off of us, which is fine. This is capitalism, so I'm all for that. When you pick a company that definitely has a track record, that's been around, and check them out. The best company I like out there is the Mormon Cannery. If you've seen my channel, I love the Mormon Cannery. I push it very hard. I am not Mormon. I get like 100 people ask me every day on my channel, are you a Mormon? No. I would support the Catholic Church, the Baptist Church, whatever church that comes out there that will offer a great product for people. And that's what it is. I've been going to the cannery a couple of years, and they're the nicest people. I recommend going to the cannery. They will not talk religion to you at all. I've been going there many, many times, and I've never had any questions to me about it. They offer a great product. And this is what the Mormon Church does for a service to people. And that's all it is. So if you're scared about going because they're a religious group, it's like going to Walmart. It's the same process. The problem with the cannery right now is in South Carolina, in Columbia, they were letting anyone come in. You didn't have to be a Mormon. You could call and make an appointment and go to the cannery. Right now, the demand for food and demand for survival supplies have gone through the roof. Literally. When I first started going to the cannery, I could go to the cannery anytime I wanted to by picking up the phone and making an appointment. Anytime. I could pick the exact time I wanted to go. Now, they have canceled so many appointments, not because they don't want to serve you, it's because they physically do not have the food in the system to support the cannery. So think about that. Try it. Right now, some of the canneries, you have to have a Mormon to sponsor you. So if you know a Mormon, just say, hey, can you make the phone call? Can you arrange that? They are a non-profit organization. You will not find better product or a cheaper price on the product because they are selling it to you at cost. So that's why I like to promote them. There's no profit in it. Let's talk about, I'm an Emergency Essentials fan. There's a lot of companies out there good, but this is the company I've been doing it for years, so I'm going to talk about Emergency Essentials. It can be any company that has a track record of success in the business. They have a lot of products out there. I'm going to explain something. It's freeze-dried and dehydrated. A lot of people ask me, what's the difference between freeze-dried and dehydrated? Freeze-dried product is a product that they take, they put it under a vacuum, they then super freeze it to about minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit. A fast freeze, instantaneous frozen product. They then evaporate all the water from the product, and they can remove about 98% of the water. While it's still in that environment, they either can it or they put it in a pouch, and that is freeze dry. So there's a lot more processing to that, so it will cost a tad more. Sometimes it doesn't, but in generally they have to do more work to get it into the can. That is freeze dry. The other product is dehydrated, and everybody knows what a dehydrator does. It removes the moisture down to a level where you can store it without it going bad or rancid or molding. So you have freeze-dried and you have dehydrated. Most of the dehydrated products that they come in are meals. You have all your ingredients ready to go. You just add hot water and you can eat. Dehydrated is usually a single item, either be it potatoes, carrots, whatever they dehydrated, but it's usually a single item in the can. I look at stocking food in 3 different things. It's called your everyday food, things that your family eats. So if you're just getting started and you're like, man, there's 16 companies want my money for this food, what do I do? What you do, and I stress on my channel a lot, is you buy the things that your family eats. So if you have no food pantry stocked up or you're just getting started, when you go to the grocery store, you look at the sales flyer and it says buy one, get one free. And if you eat that product, buy it. I made the mistake in life of buying products we don't eat, and I will never live it down because my wife had to throw them away. So I never buy a product that we don't eat. So go to the store. If you're on a budget, coupons. Buy one, get one free, sales item. But start getting a little bit more of your everyday food. The reason that's important is your family's already used to it. So you're not going to pull any surprises and pull out things that they are not used to. If it's a short-term emergency, like the power goes off for 3 or 4 days, you're eating the same thing and you're trying to heat stuff up to make it good. So everyday food. Buy that and stock it. You might say, well, my pantry's full, what am I going to do next? I got a small house. I would put this under short term. Let's say you get a bucket. You can go out and buy a brand new bucket, or you can go to any of the bakeries. The bakeries, Bilo, Ingles, anywhere you have a bakery, go there and say, hey, can I have your bucket? A few years ago, I was getting buckets for free. And then all you crazy preppers had to start doing what I was doing. And my buckets cost $1. And now they cost me $2. So there is a demand for even the used buckets. But they're still a better deal than going and buying a brand new bucket. And they're definitely food grade. So go get a bucket. And now we can turn this normal everyday food into what I call short term. Short term. I bought some beans. I'm not going to do anything special to these beans. A lot of times you can look at the expiration date. I'm going to take my beans, put in my container. I have no Mylar in here. It's just a bucket. Whatever my family likes to eat, I put in this bucket. You can put one item in the bucket, or you can just mix it. It's whatever you want to work with. Now I can put the lid on here, and I'm going to turn this into short term. Most of those items in here will last 2 and 3 years easily. Tuna fish, 6 and 7 years. There's a lot of products that will last a long time. Now are you saying, how do I know if the food is going to go bad? The expiration dates on cans are for a few reasons. First of all, it's for a liability issue. It's just much easier to put a label on there that says expires, but that has really nothing to do with the food. Next is, they put that expiration date on because if you come and you buy this food and you put it in your closet and then all of a sudden you look at it and it expired, what do? Oh, that's no good because let's see, it expired December 28th, 2013, and it's the 29th today, so that food went bad. No. And you would probably throw it away and say, hey, we need to buy another one of these chickens. The food will not go bad. And Some people say, well, it's going to start losing nutritional value. It probably will lose nutritional value over time. Everything does. But it will be a very small amount. So it's still going to be edible. It's still going to be safe to eat. But yeah, you might only get, instead of 10% of this vitamin, you might get 9%. But it's still going to fill your belly. The best way to tell if a food is bad is to look at the can. There's no rust on the can. The can is not bulging. Bulging is the worst sign. If you have a can that's bulging, there's things in your food that's reacting. So I wouldn't even recommend opening it. If you do open it outside, because your wife's going to kill you from the smell. So look at the can. The can's not bulging. There's no rust. There's no major dents in it. I'm good to go. Let's say you have some food in your stockpile and you're checking it and you drop the can and it made a dent in it. Immediately remove that can, put it in your everyday use. Do not store a can that is damaged. It will just more likely go bad. So we're working on our short term, and we can all do that. It doesn't take much. It takes a $2 bucket at any bakery and food we normally buy. So we go to Walmart, we go to Bi-Lo, especially Bi-Lo or Ingles. They have buy one, get one free sales. I buy extra and I put back. I just save money. Prepping didn't cost me any money. I saved money because next month or in a year when I eat that product, I guarantee you my chicken breast from Hormel will not be the same price it is today. I guarantee you. I mean, it goes up every day. So I'm actually saving money. So people say, I can't afford to prep. You can't afford not to prep. You will save money, guaranteed. All right, so we're working on our short term. It requires no extra money because we're going to consume that food already in our family diet. We save money. Let's talk about Mylar. Everybody likes Mylar. This is a Mylar bag. This was packed commercially, but it will be the same bag that you would buy yourself. And you can do this at your house. It's very easy. There is a million videos on YouTube, so I'm not going to get too much into how to do it. Get on the internet, get on YouTube, and you will see exactly how to pack these things. What I will tell you is, Mylar, you put the food in the Mylar. The Mylar protects the food. We put the Mylar bag in the bucket to protect the bag. The reason is, let's say we put our food in here, we push all the oxygen out, we put oxygen absorbers in it, and it depends the size of your bag. We seal it up with our iron, the regular iron at your house. You have everything you need at your house, guaranteed. We seal it up, it's sealed good, it's definitely pulled down. Now, we could take this and put it on our shelf, and the food is protected. First of all, it's protected from the light, because no light is getting into the bag, and the food is in an environment where the oxygen absorber removes the oxygen. So oxygen is the key thing that deteriorates food. So right now we're good. There's no light getting on it. There's no air inside the bag, oxygen in the bag to start the degrading of the product. You can put it on the shelf just like it is, and it'll be fine. The only problem is, you might, while you're in your pantry, you might accidentally knock it and it rips a hole in it. By chance, a mouse might decide he wants to nibble on that bag. Then your food is wrecked. So put the Mylar bag in the bucket and it protects the Mylar. It's very simple. You can store a large amount of basic food like this. Wheat, rice, beans can be stored like that. I personally do not store as much with Mylar because I've been going to the cannery and it's basically the same price, and I prefer a can over a Mylar bag just because it's a little bit more convenient to open this up and put it in the kitchen to use than that big Mylar bag. But if the cannery is closing or you're not near a cannery, you're going to have to go to the Mylar bag. You can buy these at many locations online. You will get your oxygen absorber. Your oxygen absorber is very critical when you open that bag of oxygen absorbers that you use them quickly. If you leave them out and you're slowly packing everything, you will feel your Mylar, or you'll feel your oxygen absorber, and it will be hot. That's a sign that it's working, but we don't want to feel that. We want to immediately have everything set. So say we're going to do 10 bags, don't even open your oxygen absorber until the last second. Have everything filled, and then open your oxygen absorber bag, because it will come in a bag that's totally airtight. Throw your oxygen absorber in and start start closing them up. So as soon as you open your bag, you need something to put your oxygen absorber in. People use canning jars, people use different bags, there's many methods, but keep your oxygen absorbers close to the outside air so you keep them better. People are saying, how much food do I need to stock? I get that all the time. How much do you like to eat? That's the question I ask them. How much do you like to eat? Do you like to eat 3 meals a day, or do you just prefer one? It's sort of a personal question. And it goes back to, what do you see happening in this country? I mean, you have preppers that want to prep for a short-term emergency, be a hurricane, and you have some that, hey, I believe the system might one day crash, so I would like a little insurance. And that's all this is insurance. How many people, I want to raise their hands, how many people have a spare tire on their vehicle right now that drove here? All right, put your hands on, thank you. Who does not have a spare tire? Don't raise your hand even if you didn't have one, okay? Everybody has the insurance. A spare tire is insurance. Everybody hopefully drove over here with some types of auto insurance. You wouldn't think about it. How about car insurance? You have a nice Harley, you have insurance on it. You have a boat, you have insurance on it. And then I ask the person, do you have food insurance? What are you talking about? Food insurance. Eating food is a necessity everyone has to do. I don't have to have a Harley, I don't have to have a boat, but I have to have food. So think about it as insurance. That's all it is. Am I going to be responsible enough to provide for my family? We're going to get back to emergency essentials here just for one reason. Money. This product could be expensive. I mean, everything's expensive nowadays, but you can go out and spend a lot of money on dehydrated food. They have a thing called a group special, and that's what I've been promoting on my site, because I'm on a budget, just like everybody else is, and if I go over that budget, I hear about it from the wife. They have a group special every month. So what they do is they usually offer products at a steep discount. I bought a lot of my products up to 51% off, and that's a good deal. I bought some products that I've figured out, because I have a dehydrator, I dehydrate my own. I have figured out that it's cheaper to buy it already made than go out and buy strawberries, clean them, cut them, dehydrate them, and then pack them. That's because I buy the group special. But the problem is the group special, you sometimes have to buy 6 cans or 12 cans. I can't afford 12 cans of a product. I can afford 2 or 3 a month. So that goes back to networking. Getting people of like mind to say, hey, strawberries on special this month. You know, can we scrounge up 12 buyers, or can we get 12 cans? So, yeah, probably everybody could afford $14 and buy a can of strawberries. That's what I've been doing with my dehydrated food. I've been slowly purchasing over years. So it doesn't have to be something you go out and you buy a year's supply of food. I don't recommend that, because all you'll do is you'll put it in the corner and you think, hey, I checked the box, I'm good. So look at your group specials, find like-minded individuals, and consider buying them. Everything I've talked about so far, how's my time? Okay. Everything I've talked about so far is stocking food, a logistical side of the house, and I totally recommend you doing it. Nothing might happen tomorrow, or everything could happen tomorrow. The next side of the house, I'll spend a few minutes on, is raising your own food. Growing food, rabbits and chickens. It's just as important as your stockpile, because your stockpile will run out. One day it will run out. I like it because of self-reliance. It's nice getting up in the morning knowing that I am directly responsible, if I wanted to, for my family's food. I could, because I'm set up that way. Some of you are not. And if you're not set up, maybe you need to network with someone that is. Maybe you know of a farmer. Maybe you know of some guy that has a green thumb that does a lot of canning and growing of food. And that's where networking can get in. That's why I network with Scott. I have no idea about generators. No idea. But with Scott, I have a network. I can use his skills, and he can use my skills, and that's what you need to develop right here. People where you can use their skills and ask questions, pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm a little confused on what food I need to buy. I am confused on, hey, I don't know about generators, help me out. That's where networking comes in. So, we need to be able to grow our own food. People say to me, hey, this is all right, man, I have my seeds put back. You can put seeds back, but that doesn't make you a farmer. Because I have mechanics tools at the house, and I'm definitely not a mechanic. So, don't get a false sense of security saying, hey, I'm good, I got seeds. Especially, then I ask them what type of seeds. They say, oh, those heirloom seeds. If you've ever grown a non-hybrid seed, it is hard. It's a lot harder. I mean, I fail sometimes. I'm like, man, I'm a pretty good gardener. But you can fail with non-hybrid seeds. They will produce a better crop in the sense of you can definitely reproduce the seed, but it's very, very hard. So, don't get a false sense of security saying you got your emergency essentials. They sell seeds in a number 10 can packed for long-term storage. Don't get a false sense of security saying, I got my seeds, I'm good to go. Everyone knows gardening is hard, and you got to build it. You have to learn how to do it. I could probably talk all day on food, but they probably won't let me. I hope this got you motivated. I hope you realize you need to put food back. This is a commodity that's changing every day. If you keep up with commodities, look at the prices of commodities. Every day it changes. And I don't think inflation has hit the food as we're going to see. That's my personal opinion. If you look at commodity prices, it is not factored in. The reason it's not factored in is the economy is weak and businesses don't want to lose business, so they're eating a little bit of that. But in days to come, I don't think they can. Another way you might not see the actual price change, you will see the amount of food in a package drastically go down. And I've seen that. You buy something, it's like, wow, I lost an ounce today. So that's food inflation that you might not be paying attention to because it still costs the same. I'll be in the back later. If you have any questions on individual food items, give me a holler. I've eaten a lot of emergency essential food, so I know that product, so I can tell you. There's some products that I will not recommend to you. Some are better than others, but there's some that I don't like. You might like them, but I will tell you exactly what I like on certain products, especially before you spend a lot of money on them. Hopefully this has helped. I could probably go on forever, but I better cut it now. And thanks for listening.